So let's introduce those candidates now. Your candidates for school board. We have Jason Pritchett, Cole Currier, Brian Christian, and Alex Williams. Thank you guys for being here today. Your candidates for aldermen, not all of them were able to attend, but those that are will be from Ward 3, Ralph LeBlanc. From Ward 2, or running for Ward 2, is Glenn Schulz. And we also have from Ward 1, Marshall Howden. Looks like we have an extra chair here. We had one candidate who was not able to be here at the last minute, but thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. All right, a moderated Q&A cannot take place without a moderator. So without further ado, folks, would you welcome to the stage our moderator, Joshua Heston.
And good morning, everyone. And good morning to both of our panels of candidates. I will drink some more coffee and see if I can speak. This first question begins with the school board. We'll begin with Alex. 45 seconds per candidate. It is a short question. We'll go down the row. Question number 1. Do you consider yourself a Republican or a Democrat? Alex.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Again, my name is Alex, and I am a Republican. I am a conservative, I am a Christian, and I'm a constitutionalist. Thank you for being here and helping us support those causes and keeping our nation moving forward in the direction it needs to be going, and it's currently not in a lot of areas.
Good morning. This is an honor to be here. My name is Brian Christian, and I am a nonpartisan. I will say that I admire Ron Paul as one of my favorite Republicans. I have a lot in common with his views. And I am a constitutionalist, conservative, and a Christian. And thank you very much.
Good morning, my name is Jason Pritchett. Lived in town for about 22 years. I am a Republican, conservative, Christian individual, and I try to lead my household by the direction of the Holy Spirit.
Morning, I'm Cole Currier. I am a conservative Republican and a Christian as well. I do believe that partisan politics should not have a role in school board service. However, those conservative principles and my Christian faith and my values guide every decision that is made as part of my role on the school board currently.
Thank you very much. We are going to continue with one more question on for the school board candidates. Brian, we will begin with you. And the question is critical race theory and or gender identity promoted in Branson schools?
Not to my knowledge. I have 4 students in the school system from the Cedar Ridge Primary, Elementary, Intermediate, and Junior High. To my knowledge, they're not really taught specifically. However, there is I don't know about the high school, so I have to do more research on that.
One more time on the question, please.
Is critical race theory and or gender identity promoted in Branson schools?
Critical race theory is a curriculum that's trying to be pushed through at a state level, and it will not be implemented here in the Branson school system. As far as I know, I have a 7th grader, 4th grader, and soon-to-be kindergartner. And at those levels, I know that gender identity is not being pushed as well.
I know that these are controversial buzzword topics that we hear about in national media. The beautiful thing about Branson School District and the way that our curriculum is formed is that it's formed locally. Our district reflects the values of our community, it always has. I was just telling someone this morning, my most important role in the school board currently is to play defense, to protect what we've established and has been a long-standing tradition of conservative traditional values in our local community. And so the curriculum for Branson schools is not sent down from some national, federal entity. It's formed by groups of teachers, your neighbors, who are here in our community who meet every summer to determine what the curriculum is going to be. So these controversial topics that you hear about in national media are not taking hold here because they don't reflect our community's values.
Critical race theory, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all of these divisive ideologies are not currently in the Branson schools. I do not believe in those systems personally, and they undermine traditional American value. Our kids come to school to learn writing, reading, arithmetic, and preparing themselves for the future, and they do not need to be taught these items in school. Because school is for learning, it is not an ideological proving ground. That is why I have put my kids into Branson schools. That's why I want to join the rich culture and heritage that Branson Public Schools has. And that's how you remain constantly vigilant against things that are happening in the country. And just because it's not happening in Branson today doesn't mean it won't be knocking on the door if we're not constantly vigilant.
At this point, we're going to transition over to Aldermen, beginning with Marshall, and coming on down. Question number 1. Do you consider yourself a Republican or a Democrat?
Well, first off, Josh, I'm just so thrilled to be here today. My name is Marshall Howden. I am the Ward 1 Alderman. It's so incredible to be here in the Hughes Brothers Theater. Marty Hughes is actually my campaign treasurer. And to answer your question, I am a Christian conservative Republican in that order.
Good morning. My name is Glenn Schulz. I'm running for Alderman for Ward 2. I am a conservative Christian, Lutheran Christian. I'm a Republican and also a constitutionalist.
My name is Ralph LeBlanc. I am the current Ward 3 Alderman, and I am a Christian, I am a Republican, and I am a constitutionalist, and I've served the country to support the Constitution.
For our next question, Glenn, we will begin with you. And the question is, what is the status of the $120 million city debt I heard about a few years ago, and what steps have been taken or will be taken to pay down debt and keep it to a minimum?
Yeah, so city debt. Most of our city debt is due to our TIF district work. We've invested in places like Branson Hills and the landing area, and the primary funding of that debt comes from those developments. The Branson Hills development has been successful way beyond the initial projections when the TIF district was established, and so it's doing very well. Branson Landing itself is also doing well, as you've seen from all the tax reports in the last couple of years. So I view that debt as good, sound investment on the part of the city. We've got a clear payback mechanism to fund that debt, and it helps grow our tourism and our tax revenue from which we all benefit. So I think it's largely beneficial, it's well managed at this point, and we've got a clear path to pay it down through the taxes that it generates.
You know, I learned early on that there's good debt and bad debt. You know, the good debt is a debt service that actually provides for your household or your community, and that's in essence what we're talking about. And I can tell you the mechanisms in place, as Glenn mentioned, are very strong within our community. You know, we're very fortunate that our tourism really drives our economy, and a lot of that income comes from people outside of our community. And I can assure you that, you know, when we talk about debt, it's debt service that is sustainable, that pays off, and it's a long game for the community. But when we look at how our city sits financially, I'll tell you with a lot of confidence that our city is in a financially stable situation, and you know, we are looking forward and preparing for capital projects that are paid for, that are scheduled, that are on the books, and we have a plan moving forward that in the event of any economic downturns that we can quickly, on the fly, adjust and make accommodations for anything that happens. And you know, you guys have heard on the board, we're looking to move at the speed of business and not the speed of government. And those are the key mechanisms that the current board puts in place in order to make those adjustments that we can make to ensure that our city is stable, that our city is profitable, and that we're able to provide all of the resources for our community and for the residents of this community.
a lot has been made of city debt in the previous runs for office. What I will say is the finance department under the previous administrations, I would say, had a misunderstanding of how to embark upon capital projects. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe in being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. But folks, you have to embark upon infrastructure and capital projects, otherwise they'll come back to bite us. Great example was the main break on Gretna Road. If you don't take the dollars that you have as a city and invest in your infrastructure and your capital projects, it will eventually come back to bite you. And then we're out $500,000, and a key artery of the city in Gretna Road will be down for months and months. So I am so thrilled that in this new administration, we have contracted with Baker Tilly, which is an incredible organization, under the leadership of Ben Hart. And just like Ralph said, I think the finances of our city are incredibly healthy, and I'm very proud of the stewardship that we have of our city finances.
For our next question for Alderman, it is specifically for Marshall and Ralph, because it speaks to your current service as Alderman. We will begin with Ralph, and the question is, would you name any specific accomplishments that you, as an Alderman, assisted in that makes Branson a better community?
You know, I'd have to say that collectively, it's the direction that this city is going currently is not because of one person, it's because of a collective board. And, if I had to, I guess one of the reasons I'm running for a second term, I'll share with you, is that, the police station, we were given a briefing by our previous chief, and, we were looking at a lot of money and a lot of time before we ever had a new police station to house our police department. And, our police department operates out of the basement of City Hall. And that's been a deterrent for attracting new officers. It's been a deterrent for keeping officers because of the confinedness of that area. And so I was just like, after hearing that briefing, I was riding around our community, and I was like, I'm from South Louisiana. We repurpose a lot of things down there. And so I'm just driving around. I was like, there's got to be a building somewhere that we could kind of utilize and make use of. And my first thought was the Majestic Theater, the Majestic Steakhouse. And I thought about that building, but I was like, a few years ago it had some issues structurally, things like that. So then I'm driving and I remember the White House Theater being around the corner. So I drove around there, and I just kind of walked around, and I went to the mayor, and I just kind of shared with him an idea. And the idea was, hey, why don't we take a structure that still has some life to it, that still has some service to it, and before it gets dilapidated and to the point that it needs to be torn down, let's see if we can revitalize it. And he said, why don't you share that idea with the board? And I shared it with the board, and everyone liked it, and we just kind of moved forward on that. And, so my goal in this is I want to see this to completion, and, with the leadership that we have at City Hall now and our admin, that's going to be a realization very soon, probably in the next 18 months, that our police department will have their own place to live and grow. And I think it's going to serve the community in a big way, and we're doing it very fiscally minded. We know what our budget is, we know what our parameters are, and we're working within those parameters, and we're not going to budge on that, but we're going to make that happen. And so I guess if there's one thing, that would be it.
Josh, the thing that I'm most proud of is reinvigorating faith, family, flag back into the marketing of this community. Those are the values that this community has always been known for. Thank you so much. And going forward, under our stewardship, will continue to be. I also want to say, I'm very proud of the work that we've done with public safety, police, and fire. My opponent will tout that he helped pass the public safety tax. And while I personally didn't initiate a new tax on our citizens, I think we've been great stewards of that money. As Ralph mentioned, the area that we were going to build the police station, there were a lot of issues with that. There was a sinkhole on the property. It was sunk down below, which for security reasons for a police station isn't the best. And so we decided to renovate a building. with inflation costs and what it takes to actually build a new building, there's no telling how much that building ultimately would have cost us. This building is going to come in at less than half the time, double the size, and we're going to save money on it. I'm very proud of that. Furthermore, we have been champions of our firefighters. I think you have to be. We have initiated a change that they are allowed to reach the highest pay grades because we did a tier reform system. Folks, Nixa, Ozark, Springfield, we're competing with them constantly. They would love to poach our firefighters because our guys are great. And we have to constantly remain competitive, and that's been an absolute priority at the city of Branson. And when I say competitive, I'm talking about putting food on the tables of their families.
Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to transition back over to school board. Jason, we will begin with you. The question is, how do you feel about the suggestion that the U.S. Department of Education be abolished so control of local schools would be totally returned to the school board?
So this is one of those spicy questions you were talking about?
This is one of those spicy questions.
I'm super thankful to have my kids be a part of the Branson School System for so long that I've got a chance to see our school superintendents, Dr. Swafford and Dr. Moore. I mean, for those of you who don't have kids in the school system right now, we are super grateful for the leadership that we have at the school board. I think we have a great school board right now. A lot of great things happening. I'm looking forward to coming alongside and continuing that and giving some pointers of my own. It's great that we can keep the leadership right here locally, because like Cole mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that are happening nationwide or statewide. I mean, you can go 30 miles north of here to a little bitty town called Springfield, where their ideas of school board and school system and school policies is quite a bit different than Branson, Missouri. And so really want to make sure that we can keep what we're doing right here in Branson, Missouri, because I'm super thankful for what's happening.
My experience on school board is that we have significant local control, and so I'm a fan of limited government and local control. And so far, my experience has been that that's what we have here. We're very fortunate to have that. So I'm not aware of anything specifically during my term in serving on school board that would that has prohibited us from controlling our district and promoting our values and creating our own curriculum at a local level. So I wouldn't be familiar with any particular issues that would make me say that we need to abolish the Department of Education. But just a specific example of that in the way that Branson not only has local control but also is leading schools in terms of enhancing local control. Just a very specific example. There is a group of schools who has worked with the State Board of Education, the State Education Department, to obtain waivers on the state's testing system. So we're part of a group of schools that's leading the way in inventing a local control that is better testing of students with faster response times so that our educators have tools to improve educational outcomes. So when you follow the state's testing procedure, I'm not sure if you're aware, but state and federal government can kind of get bogged down sometimes and operate a little bit slow. And so we would do these state tests and get the results the next year. And well, isn't that great to have this information about where our kids need help as a result of these tests? We get the results a year later. Instead, we have new testing systems that are going into place that are instant response. A teacher can test students on a topic with a standardized test and have results instantly and shift and customize that student's educational curriculum to meet the needs of that student. And it's exciting to see our educators and our administrators at Branson leading the charge to influence the way that that's happening even on a state level.
Like all of the other candidates have shared, Branson Public Schools has a reputation that is solid, of great local representation of society's beliefs and values here in Branson. Where I'll contrast some of the remarks that have been shared is that the Department of Education should not be a thing anymore. We need to move forward and return control back to parents. Parents are the first educator of our homes. They reserve that right. The U.S. government and a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. has zero right or responsibility to tell me, as a parent, what my kid needs to learn. Our people will help find those individuals to help advance what we want to see our kids educated on, because if we do not do something about that moving forward, it's going to get to us eventually, whether we like it or not. Yes, we're doing it well in Branson now, but the environment is constantly changing, and we need to be confident and say, return the power back to our parents.
I'm all about accountability, and I think you know, our local school systems do need to be held accountable by larger governments. I think the Missouri Department of Education should you know, hold Branson and other small towns accountable, and I think they do a well enough job. I think the Federal Department of Education, their main reason for existence would be to hold a common standard for all the school systems across the country. However, I'm not sure that they're doing that. And the short answer is yes, I think we should abolish the Department of Education because our Missouri state government does a well enough job.
Thank you very much. And for our second question for school board candidates in this segment, Cole, we will begin with you. Would you be in favor of expanding civics education, and if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an area that falls under continuous improvement, and that is the culture of Branson schools currently. It's the desire of from the top down, from school board, superintendent, administrators, and teachers, always looking for an opportunity to continuously improve. As far as civic education, I do think that we have a very robust program already. I see the values of that carried out. We're very fortunate as board members to have the opportunity to tour campus buildings on a monthly basis. And so we see it in action. We see these kids receiving the curriculum that our community would support, that reflects our values, that encourages them to understand the way our government works and our history. And so I think that we have a very robust program already. But I do think that there is an opportunity, just like with any part of our curriculum, for continuous improvement. And so I think I think we're on the right track there.
As a former instructor of patriotic education at College of the Ozarks, I know the true value of educating our students on nonpartisan issues such as being a citizen of the United States. The Constitution is very clear on how that is supposed to happen. And for us, you know, it's encouraging. When I went to visit Branson Junior High, for example, that the Pledge of Allegiance is still in our schools. It should always be there. I'm a champion of that, and I will never falter from that. What I can tell you that as I've seen publicly, privately, and homeschooled kids come to the college environment at C of O, freshmen, they do not know what they need to know as voting age American citizens. And 2/3 of their world, their news, comes from social media, and when an institution such as PragerU says that 49% of our adolescents believe that socialism and communism is a good thing, that is not a success in getting civics to our kids so that they can be productive American citizens regardless of their political affiliation.
Could you repeat the question? Expanding civics?
The question is, would you be in favor of expanding civics education, and if so, how?
I think that it's very important that students learn how to do their own research because there is a lot of different biases in the media, and in every kind of curriculum is going to have its own bias. And so I think the best way to expand the curriculum in terms of civics is learning how to do their own research in terms of using the library and different sources on the internet. And I don't have any specific ideas in terms of expanding civics. I mean, you have to be more specific than that. But yeah, I think that's what we need to do, is just learn, teach the research skills.
One of the unfortunate things that I hear a lot is the internet. The internet. My family mentioned, well, I read it on Facebook, so it must be true, right? I want to make sure that what we are teaching is coming from good quality faculty that teaches great information. And like Cole said, what the school system has right now is, I'll use the word that you just used, a very robust curriculum. And I think we can make that better. And I've got a chance with Alex to sit at some of the school board meetings, and man, I'm blown away at what I didn't know before I went to the school board meetings of what the Branson school system is already teaching in their curriculum. So I'm a huge fan of it, and we can come alongside the school board and make it stronger, make it better for our kids.
Thank you very much. All right, at this point, we will switch back to Aldermen. And Glenn, we will begin with you. The question is this. The year 2020 brought an unusual set of circumstances that revealed a lot about the extent to which the members of the council were willing to usurp the rights of an individual. What efforts will you make to protect the rights and freedoms of individual residents and visitors?
So I think this has been a fairly well-hashed subject in the press, and I think our city council has already enacted some legislation to make sure that we do not repeat that type of event again in our city. I'm a strong believer when it comes to these kind of issues that you do have to exercise personal judgment. We should keep it in the hands of the citizen. The government has no business telling people how to conduct their life. Those are some very long tentacles, so it doesn't take long to go from should you wear a mask or not to many other things that we could give up in our personal freedom. So I think we need to stand very strong as a community, make sure that individual rights persist in our community, and our council should do everything to ensure that that happens.
Well, there will be no mask mandate. There will be no shutdown. This goes back to personal responsibility, and I think that's where it lies. Each individual was given inalienable rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and I know this board doesn't want to step on or infringe upon those rights, and we're not going to allow anyone else to do it either. But this level of personal responsibility and self-awareness, I think, is very important. I think it's something that we have to get back to. Because I think over the years, there's been like this kind of complacentness that we've fallen into this level of comfort in our country. And that level of comfort has allowed overreach. And that overreach is the very thing. And I think that laid witness to what happened in 2020 was we were just living comfortably and this incident happened. And out of fear, and fear was the motivating factor, particularly of that board, the prior board, that enabled them to make those decisions. And I always think back to that moment because I always want to be very empathetic to decisions people make. And when you look at the prior board and their decision, a lot of them kind of fit the characteristics of people that were having issues with COVID. And so that fear in them is what drove them to make those decisions, almost not thinking about the rest of our community. So, that's just one thing that I'm going to ensure that I am steadfast on, is that you will have a choice. And I encourage each and every one of you to look inside and pray about the level of your personal responsibility and self-awareness, and ensure and recognize that you are a free human being. And I want you to live that way. And I know as a board member, I'm going to do everything that I can do to maintain that opportunity for you.
When they come for your rights and your freedoms, it's going to be the professional managerial class that tries to scare you, as Ralph talked about. There'll be people standing up. They told us in the first board meeting it was going to be a 16% national death rate from COVID, right? Regardless of that, you absolutely have to, as a citizen, have the right to make those decisions between you and your doctor, you and your family, and you and your God. We have already enacted a proclamation that says we are a no-mandate city. No mandates for vaccines, no mandates for masks. But folks, the fact of the matter is, it should have never happened in the first place. Absolutely. To shut down businesses that people spent their lives building, it was just a travesty, which we've recovered from some, but you can never recover fully from what they did to you and your business.
And Ralph, we'll begin with you for this next question. How would you approach policy to protect exploited and trafficked children and adults in our community?
Well, I have to say that, you know, we have a chief of police, Chief Schmidt, and a police department that are very, very aware of these kinds of things. And, you know, we're fortunate that he has right before we hired him, he had just come back from the FBI Academy. And, you know, the people that we've been able to attract as a community, and our directors and our leaders, are heads and shoulders above surrounding communities. I mean, I could say that with the utmost confidence because I get to interact with them on a weekly, if not almost daily basis. And so I would say that the awareness that our public safety has for this issue is going to be the thing that kind of leads us and is able to protect our children from these kinds of things. You know, and beyond that, again, self-awareness. You know, where's your family? I'll just give you a little, for instance, like I have 4 daughters, and I could send a text right now and just say, where are you at? And they have 10 seconds to respond and give me their location. It's not that I want control of them, it's just an awareness thing, and that text only goes out if something happens around our community, a neighboring community, or anywhere in the country. I just want to know where they are. So being proactive as a parent, I think, is absolutely crucial. But from a governmental standpoint, I think it's the leadership that we've put in place in the administration that is going to protect our community the way that we deserve.
So over the past couple of years, I've had the pleasure to get to know Kimberly Fletcher, who is the president of an organization absolutely called Moms for America, right? And through that organization, I've been to many incredible events, but it's been eye-opening. And at one of those events, I talked to a person who deals with human trafficking, and he really opened my eyes a bit to the threat that we face here in Branson. And the main reason is because we are a tourist community. We are a community that people come in and out of on a daily basis. So it is absolutely something that we have to be vigilant about. It's something that I'm cognizant of, and I'll just reiterate what Ralph said. I think we have a tremendous police department and police force and police chief, quite frankly, who came from Denver, Colorado, which is another place that is a big city, big population center, which could face things like this. So vigilance is very important. Constantly knowing who is in our community is a thing that I think our police force does a great job of, and I'll continue to support them in that.
I have to echo, I think our police department is really in stride at this point within the city. In 1 year's time, we've gone from a vastly understaffed department with officers working all sorts of crazy hours and citizens feeling that they couldn't get the responses that they always wanted, to now we have a nearly fully staffed police department. And not just fully staffed, but those people are energized, excited, enjoying their job, happy to serve the community. So I think that's a critical component to being on guard and thwarting these kind of issues. Just yesterday, my wife Beth and I taught a free class at the library called Situational Awareness. I think we as citizens have a role here too. I think all of us, if you've gone to see the last couple of movies on this topic, it's just heart-wrenching. It's just horrible. And maybe you leave those movies feeling, boy, what can I do? What's my role in this as the average person on the street? And I think attending educational sessions like situational awareness and other organizations that are holding these kind of classes help us as the average citizen being able to know the signs, call 911, and get a police response to those kind of issues. So we shouldn't sit idly by. We should stay charged up on this issue. We sit on a major corridor, and as was pointed out by Marshall, we also have the volume of traffic in our city during the tourist time that makes these kind of things probable. So stay vigilant, don't hesitate to call the police, and I think if there's anything from a city council perspective that can be done, I think all the members of city council and the mayor would readily support action in that direction.
Thank you very much. At this point, we do swivel back to school board. Alex, we will begin with you, and the question is this. At the school board level, do you support diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, including transgender and LGBTQ plus curriculum, or are there other subjects you believe should be prioritized?
As a candidate for the school board and as a parent in the district, I believe that all the aforementioned items have no business being in school. Our kids go to school for learning, like I mentioned earlier, reading, writing, arithmetic, soft skills that help them go into the market and contribute to their society. Outside of that, it is a free country, but in our public school systems, using your tax dollars, there's no business in advancing any of those ideologies. What should be focused on is what we'd already talked about a little bit, and that's civics knowledge, because this country is going to provide a lifestyle for them to live out their pursuit of happiness. That's on their own business, but it is certainly not in a public school system that you are paying for our kids to go learn those skills that they need to move into the professional sector, whether that be academia, a job, or anything else, or just leaders in their homes. So a big no on any of those items coming into our schools.
Yes, the short answer is no. We shouldn't teach those as ideologies. However, we should not have censorship. I do believe that students should be aware of what those ideologies are. We shouldn't stop people from talking about them or using any kind of words. I think that, especially because in a lot of other places in the country, especially in certain corporate America or certain other areas of government, those things are taught almost like a religious doctrine, and so we need to know what those are. You know, in LGBT stuff, also, I mean, I think that we need to be aware of what's going on there, and just kind of talk about it, be free to discuss it. But of course, we aren't going to teach it as a kind of ideology or doctrine.
Kind of reiterate what Alex said. That's a big no for me, pushing that in our school system. You know, we, at our house, my wife is here in the back, we always make sure that big questions or big items such as the transgender and things like that, it's going to come up. But I want to make sure that that's going to come up in my household, that my kids can come to me and talk to me and my wife about that, so we can give them the truth about that, what's biblical truth about that, not what's going to be pushed by a school teacher from a state or a government curriculum. Just want to make sure that our kids are going to school, they're getting an education, like Alex said, to further their career as a young professional moving forward in this country. But I want to make sure that they can go to a place that's safe, they can go to a place where they're not going to be pushed this kind of nonsense, and then if they do have a question about it, they can come to their father or their mother, and we can give them the truth about what is the truth.
No, simple answer is no. And if you spend any time in the district at all with the school board, or ask for a tour, or talk to a teacher about what they're doing every day, this is so far from the focus of what Branson Schools is about. Every day, our educators are just incredible people who have the biggest heart for investing in these kids and helping them build their best opportunity for a bright future. So all of these types of topics are just so far from the mindset of where our educators are today. It's just not even rising to any level of importance. Supporting these kids and helping them grow and develop and achieve their best possible self is the focus of the district, and it should stay that way.
And Brian, the next question will be yours to begin. The question is this: have you personally had teaching experience?
Yes, I have taught several different subjects in different areas. I taught in the Lawndale district of Chicago to inner city kids. I taught class piano there. I've also taught French, Italian, and German diction to opera singers. I taught a class on cryptocurrency at the library here recently. I've taught music history to college students. I've taught K through 12 as well as college and all sorts of ages. And I also teach, of course, my own children. And I taught my eldest son, Jesse, who is currently competing at the state level. I taught him math when he was younger, and I think that gave him an extra edge. So yes, I have a lot of teaching experience.
When my daughter brings home her 4th grade math and I have no idea what's happening, you do not want me teaching in the Branson school system. No, I'm just teasing, but really. No, I have not been a teacher in any form or fashion, but what I do know is both of my daughters are in competitive club softball, competitive club basketball, and competitive club volleyball, and I've got a chance to coach their teams, 6 years now, all through the Branson system, not a school-oriented team, but it's all with Branson students. And so I've got a chance to really be around these student athletes. And it's been so cool for me to see them grow from an early age to now. Our teams are now into the junior high level. All of the girls that I've coached have made the junior high softball team, so I'm super excited about that to go watch them. But I feel like even though I'm not in the classroom, I'm still making an impact on these young individuals on the field or on the court. Because I've always talked, and parents always talk, you experience every emotion within the boundary lines of that particular sport, from being happy, from being sad, from being angry, from how to take on defeat, how to be a good winner, all of these things. And what I always push to always give the effort to be a good athlete, but be a good student athlete, because academics comes first, and once you get into school, when you get to high school, you have to make the grades before you're on the field. And so I've come alongside the parents for the last 5 or 6 years, and it's been exciting to see these young athletes just grow in their personalities, just grow in their confidence, and to see all of these students that I've coached are right on track for, I think all of them right now, they just reported back, they're all at straight A's, so I'm super excited about that.
I have very valuable indirect teaching experience. My mom is a retired teacher. My sister is a teacher. My sister-in-law is a teacher, and so I have an interesting perspective of dinner table conversation from a teacher's perspective of what's happening, and so that has really guided the way that I lead it at the school board level. And the practical example of that is a new initiative, a new plan, a new strategy, a new process that our administration is really excited about. And my qualifying question, our administrators would tell you I ask often is, that sounds really incredible. What do our teachers think? What does the teacher's voice say about this? How much of their time, how much of their talent, because we have the best teachers in the region, how much of their time and talent is taken away from their ability to invest in students directly to run this new program or system? We're putting this on their plate, so what are we taking away? How can we streamline the processes, procedures, policies, and requirements that they have to fulfill, and make sure that their number one availability is to invest in these students? And that comes from many years of sitting around pot roast and hearing, there's another thing we have to do, and it's going to take time away from me implementing my skills and talents as a teacher to invest in these kids. So that's one way that we continually try to guard the great quality of education that Branson Schools currently provides.
I've had what a great important question, teaching experience, because if you're going to serve in a role of responsibility over our children's education, helping the teachers, the frontline leaders be empowered to do their jobs, right? I had the opportunity and the blessing to teach at School of the Ozarks. It's a private classical Christian school here in the area at the senior level, and I've also been a 5-year instructor at College of the Ozarks, teaching patriotic education and military science. American government, civics, the Constitution. These are all things that I got to go into depths with on students from all across the nation. Great responsibility, a lot of fun, a lot of concern that comes from that, as I had shared with previously. As a military officer, I'm a UH-60 helicopter pilot, and I've been an instructor pilot assistant, helping our next generation of military pilots secure freedom and protect the Constitution. I also taught in non-traditional environments. As I sit on the board of directors for Elevate Branson, we live in a socially, economically strained environment where students in the Branson School District are constantly up against barriers, and I've gotten to work with their parents and help them through programs like Elevate Entrepreneurs, where we're taking folks that are in a challenged environment. We're teaching them how to do a 60-second commercial. We're teaching them how to do a resume. We're teaching them how to be contributors again and not just simply take a handout. So that's the type of things where I've had the opportunity as a teacher and as a student to benefit from valuable curriculums that advance the causes of our society. So, or example two, Branson School's great program, I have to mention it, the Greater Ozark Center for Advanced Professional Studies, Go Caps. Branson's kids, among other area schools, participate in this entrepreneur program, and I'm so excited. That's a partnership with the Branson Chamber of Commerce. These kids are the next business leaders and community leaders. Pouring into them is a #1 priority for me, and I'm so excited that I've had those opportunities to be a teacher in the past.